Self-growth is really the foundation of a good relationship. But what is your best self? Most people only live up to about 40% of their real capacity. So let's unpack that a little bit. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. On the Upper West Side, the Equinox Gym had a sign in the window that said, outrunning previous versions of myself. And I like to live my life by that slogan. I always used to say, God help me if I'm the same person I was even yesterday, because I'm always looking for a better way to do things. I've become the best version of myself. And really, what does that mean, right? You hear all the time, become your best self. That's not about perfectionism, because perfectionism is not helpful. I mean, speaking as someone who has struggled with perfectionism myself, it's really paralyzing, right? Because it's impossible to be perfect. And if you hold yourself to such a high standard all the time, it usually shuts you down. Giving yourself permission to be your best self instead of being perfect is the solution for perfectionists, because you can't be perfect. It's impossible and it's exhausting to try to be perfect. And go easy on yourself. Years ago, when I had done a reality show in New York and one of my girlfriends was getting married, it was in the vows section of the New York Times. And they asked me, because I was on a talk show called Naked New York in New York at the time, and they asked me what I was looking for in a relationship. And I actually was in a wonderful relationship, really, with the man that I said I should have married. And they asked me what I was looking for in a partner. And I said, I'm looking for a man who's done some self-growth, who's really done some internal growth work and has looked at his issues. And they printed, I'm looking for a man who's in therapy. And one of his best friends called and woke us up on a Sunday morning and was like, hey, are you in therapy? And he was like, no, why? He said, because your girlfriend's in the New York Times saying she wants a man who's in therapy, which they misquoted me. But my point is, yes, once you've done any kind of self-growth, it helps you make better choices in partners, because you can see everybody else's issues too, right? The more you know about people and how they tick and what's psychology, right? The easier it is to spot that in other people. It's helpful in picking a better partner. I absolutely, at this point in my life, need someone who has also done some self-growth work and looked at their stuff, because, a much younger me, no one had really looked at their issues yet. And relationships were a lot harder. And second marriages, they say, are better because you went through the heart wounds of the first one. That doesn't kill you does make you stronger. It's a really great growth opportunity to have your heart broken. I firmly believe, have you had your heart broken is a defining question. And it's honestly the best thing that could ever happen to you. Outrunning previous versions of yourself to then hopefully get to a place where you pick better partners, right? And you only need one. So you pick a better partner because you've become a better version of yourself. So how do you define what is best for you? Being your best self, it's really about what's best for you. What's best for me is going to be different from what's best for you and for anybody else and for your partner. If you're in a relationship, becoming your best self has a lot to do with commingling with what is best for your partner too. You do have to be flexible within a relationship while still holding strong boundaries and holding on to who you are and what is most important to you. As a much younger me, I dated a lot of older men who, especially when I moved to New York, had lived in New York longer than I had. They say people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And the reason is largely lessons. And I think part of the reason I was attracted to older men was because they could teach me something. I could learn from them. My best self has changed over the years. And what I thought was my best self in my 20s is certainly not what I think my best self is now in my 50s, right? That's exactly my point. You have to define for yourself, what is your best self? Leave me a comment. Let me know, what do you think is your best self? How do you define your best self? And how have you gotten to being your best self? I'm all ears. I'm always open to learning new things and learning new ways to do things. I think that's all part of the journey of outrunning previous versions of myself. And that's not a bad thing. You can look at your old self with compassion and be really thankful to your old self for making you become the person that you are today. If you are doing it with a growth mindset, it's good to fail. It really is. You learn so much more from the things that you don't do right than from all the things that you do well. right? Things are going well. You don't really stop and think about it that much. You're just lauding in the success of it. But when things don't go well, the best thing that you can do is really take a look at that. And why did it fail? Why did it not go well? And I think most people naturally do that anyway. So it's good to fail, right? All you perfectionists, it's good to fail. Because really, after a breakup is when most people don't really have that growth mindset initially. You're wallowing in your pity, and depression is one of the 5 stages of grief. So you do go through that. But I've long said knowledge is the only thing that makes me feel better when I'm hurting about something. I need to understand it. I need to unpack it, my version of it. I've gotten to a point where I coach people largely when I had my heart ripped out when I was 30. And, I'd read some self-help books prior to that, but I voraciously read them once I was really hurting about somebody. And largely because, the first guy that ripped my heart out, I'd been friends with for 8 years before we ended up dating. So at the point that I fell in love with him, I thought, geez, why didn't I get you before? Although I'd changed, right? He'd probably changed too. But my point is for the first time ever, not feeling perfect, right? The perfectionist that always just felt like you had to be perfect. And then now someone didn't want me. What? Right? Like that was mind blowing. But truly the best thing that's ever happened to me, because it's what set me on a journey of self-growth, outrunning previous versions of myself to become my best self. And I actually do think I'm my best self at this point in my life. I mean, I take care of me and I don't need anyone to take care of me. Love to have a man who wants to take care of me. I'm not talking financially. I just made another video about letting the man be the man. And I really love a man that is the man. I need a strong, masculine man. So I've really had to work on becoming that submissive, feminine woman to allow him to be the man so I don't emasculate him. That's really the key in letting your man be the man, because I'm attracted to that kind of man. So how do you define what is best for you? Are there things that you do? Your to-do list, right? Things that you don't check off on your list along the way that, nags at you that you want to do this, you want to do that. I'm a big fan of scheduling the night before what I'm going to do the next day. And then you just do it, right? I'm a runner. I schedule runs. I look at the weather. I see what the weather's going to be. And if it says it's going to be decent, I'm going to run. And regardless of how I feel, I get up and I go for a run. That's how I stay in shape. That's exactly what I'm talking about. In creating a schedule the night before, I think is really helpful. And honestly, years ago, when I had my heart ripped out for the first time, I had a dog. I had an Akita who was the love of my life. I loved that dog so much. And no matter what, especially when I was living in Los Angeles, I had to get up and take that dog for a walk every day. And first thing in the morning, the last thing I wanted to do was get up and get dressed and go take a walk. But what I found was that it made me feel better and it put me in a better mindset. I got a lot of things done when I came home for the walk, because while I was out walking the dog, I was thinking about the things that I needed to do, which is why I give advice to people, go take a walk first thing in the morning. I think it's really helpful. I also run, so I get ideas while I'm running, and I do run in the mornings, but not first thing. I'm actually not a morning person, right? So it takes me a little while to get up before I'm ready to go for a run. I need to hydrate first, right? So my point is creating a routine that is effective for you based on what's best for you is very helpful in becoming your best self, and then really sticking to it. Right? That's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to give you a challenge. If you give yourself one thing each day to do that will help you on your journey to becoming your best self, what would that one thing be? Right? Leave me a comment if you want. What is the one thing that you could change for tomorrow to help you start becoming your best self? And you have to really start reframing how you feel about failure. Because trust me, we could all wallow in things that we failed at, things that didn't go our way, but that's not helpful. We can unpack failure by how we look at it and reframing it. It's all just part of our growth. Failing at something is actually a blessing because it helps you find a better way to do it again and moving forward. And I'll tell you, all the greatest successful people I know have had lots of failures. It's how they learned to get to the point that they're at. So embrace those failures. Don't be afraid to fail. It's actually helpful. And setting clear boundaries is a big piece of being your best self. Being able to say no when you don't want to do things, having flexible boundaries when you're in a relationship, but still taking care of your own needs and getting your own needs met, knowing what your needs are. Really be kind to yourself in setting goals. Try to aim for like 1% a day improving so that it's not all too at once. If you try to put too much on at one time, it usually causes you to just stop because it's overwhelming. Planning your day the next day is very helpful in keeping yourself motivated. But if you are struggling, especially if you're going through a breakup and you're in that depression state, give yourself permission to do nothing for just one day. One day, it is fine to just, stay in your pajamas and never leave the house and just do whatever it is that you feel like doing that's not really productive. I think it is helpful to have a day like that once in a while, but don't allow yourself to stay in that. Years ago, I was having lunch with a girlfriend. She'd brought a friend that I didn't know, and she said to me that she had just lost like 40 pounds. And I said to her, wow, good for you. That's hard. And she had kids and she had a lot going on in her life. And she said, yeah, I looked in the mirror one day and I just thought to myself, I'm better than this. And I thought that was a great way to put it. Challenge yourself, look in the mirror. And if there's things that are bothering you, tell yourself, I'm better than this. And then make a plan to change one thing a day, improve 1% a day to become your best self. And really, what is your best self? What is the vision for you that would make you your best self? And vision boards are very helpful. They actually are, that you see it in your eyesight. You can print things out on your computer or you used to pull things out of magazines, right? However you want to do it. If you're good at drawing, that's even better. Make a vision board and look at it daily of where you're headed. Really commit to how you want to grow and don't compare yourself to anybody else. It doesn't matter what anybody else's best self is, that's not you. What is your idea of what your best self is? That's all you need to live up to. Because unfortunately, I think we all too often compare ourselves to other people. I mean, look, geez, I was a teenage model in Manhattan, literally the most beautiful women in the world. And look, I feel pretty good about what I was genetically blessed, right? I was dealt a good hand. But literally the most beautiful women in the world were in New York. And, you can't compare yourself to anybody else. And that's honestly when I started acting and I'd go on auditions and I thought to myself, like, there were all these very beautiful women. And I would think, yeah, but they're not me. I had confidence in myself that I was going to be good at what I did and that no one else was the same personality as me, which I think is how you can frame it, right? Don't let anybody else make you feel bad about who you are. They are them and you are you. Know that what you have is special. And yes, it may be different from what they have, but different is good. You don't have to be what anybody else is. You can be motivated by somebody else. If somebody's doing something that you think is pretty terrific and it's something that you can do, then by all means, use that as motivation to do that. But don't compare yourself to others in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that's how you can really damage your self-esteem and feel bad about yourself. Put a realistic time frame on it, right? Outrunning previous versions of myself, I think, is a great way to look at it, because as long as you're steadily moving forward and making progress and growing, that's all you can ask of yourself, right? Just be your best self. You don't have to be the best of everybody. Unfortunately, that's where people get in trouble. They start comparing themselves to everybody else, and that's really not good for you. I've actually created a master class to become your best self. I'd love to offer you a discount for watching my video. It's called My Best Me 3-Step Action Plan to unpack your issues and then help you in choosing a better partner and making your relationship last. I'm offering you 25% off with the promo code BestMe25 so you can work on outrunning previous versions of yourself. Be good to yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. Keep on a schedule and really plan your next day. Strive to be 1% better each and every day until you get to be your best self. Be compassionate about the old you that helped you get to the new you, because it's all a very valuable journey. So like my video if you will, subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next episode. Thanks.